What's up, Lantern fans? It's the Emerald Enthusiast, the co-host of the Emerald Echo podcast. Here with a look at the McFarlane DC Multiverse gold label figure of Green Lantern, Kyle Rayner. So if you are familiar with me at all, you know that Kyle Rayner is my favorite DC Comics character, and this version of his costume is my all-time favorite costume in comics. I never saw this figure in the wild, unfortunately, and I had help from my friend Mark. I'm going to put his information up here. Thank you, Mark, for helping me get this figure at a reasonable price. I do appreciate it. And with all of that being said, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the package details now. On the side, it says Green Lantern Kyle Rayner Changing of the Guard. We get a partial window at the top where you can see the figure. We get product information on the bottom, and on the opposite side, it says Green Lantern Kyle Rayner, and we get another partial window. On the back, we get this gorgeous artwork of Kyle. This is actually from Green Lantern Volume 3, the cover of issue number 138. That's also the same artwork that features on the card here. I like the overall composition of the packaging. I do wish that this part of the cardboard down here was a little bit less prominent, so the accessories could go underneath his feet and we could move the card down or up so that could be featured, while at the same time having the figure more centered in the inside of the packaging. But those are all minor criticisms. I do think that this figure looks great in the box. And with all that being said, now I think it's time to bust this figure out of the package and see what's inside. Here's a look at the figure in only the inner plastic. Here's the inner cardboard tray with the trading card and the peg stand. The back of the card features a brief biography of Kyle Rayner. If you would like to read this, go ahead and pause the video and do so now. And here we see the torchbearer out of the package and ready to rumble. I'll be honest, after the Blackest Night wave, I thought it might be quite some time before we saw another Kyle Rayner figure in the McFarlane line, so I was overjoyed when I heard that these had dropped. I do have some issues with this figure, but they are minor compared to the elation that I feel having this figure in my collection. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the loose details now. Here's a look at the accessories. We get this black DC logo peg stand. You've seen this before. We get this construct sword, and I love the way this translucent plastic looks. It's the right shade of green, which is not the case on the figure, but I really like the way this looks. We also get this construct samurai style armor, and this looks like it's going to be easy to put on the figure. I'll be doing that later on in the video, and I really like the fact that we get the Green Lantern logo here. I really like the texturing on this as well. So those are the three accessories, and of course the card comes in addition to these. Here's a look at the lower body, and overall I think this is well produced. I mentioned the green earlier, and this is a more accurate shade of green to the original Darryl Banks design. I wish that McFarlane would have used this shade of green and something a little bit more metallic. But that being said, much like I talked about with the Parallax figure, McFarlane puts their own twist on their figures, so you know that going in. For instance, all of these lines here, these aren't on the original artwork during A New Dawn. So this is McFarlane's interpretation here. I don't mind these. Again, I would have preferred comic accuracy, but I don't think they look bad. I do like the overall shape of the boot. The way that they cover the knee, I do appreciate that. So as you can see, there is this texturing on the black part of the costume. And I don't really think about Green Lantern outfits as being like this, whether they were the original fabric costumes like back in the Silver Age or the energy costumes that we see in modern times. I still think of them as being spandex type of costumes. like very slick and reflective. So I would have preferred something like this, but I really don't mind the way this looks. It does look pretty good, even though it's not comic accurate. In terms of articulation, he has the midfoot hinge here, pivoting at the ankle. I do appreciate that. Double jointed knees. You can get his legs to go up that far, so if you want to get him into a running pose, you certainly can. Again, he has issues like a lot of McFarlane figures with kicking forward. You can only get his leg to go up about this far. If you try to raise it too far, it feels like you're stressing this part here at the hips. However, he can kick to the side a little bit more than I thought he would be able to. That's better than I thought we would get. And he can step back. So overall, I'm going to say that this is good articulation. I just wish that we would have gotten a little bit more when it comes to him kicking forward. In terms of the torso, I really like this body mold. I think it's perfect for Kyle. I really appreciate the fact that they used the original Darryl Banks symbol. That's very attractive to me. I really don't have any complaints when it comes to the front of the costume here. I do have an issue with the back. Now, even though the musculature looks good, you can see the definition here on the trapezius and the latissimus dorsi, but I really miss this white section. And I know that McFarlane puts their own spin on things, and that's fine. But to me, I just really miss this. That looks so good, and I really wish that that would have been there. I may yet get a third figure of this and do some customizing with a more metallic green and that white section. But nonetheless, I still think that this looks really good. In terms of torso articulation, he has the lower waist pivoting here as well as the upper torso swivel. So you can see that's a considerable amount of articulation there. You can get him to rock back that far. I really appreciate that. You can get him to crunch forward this much. Maybe that could be a little bit better, but overall, I think this is certainly an acceptable amount of articulation. So I'm really impressed by the arms overall. I think the shape of the gauntlets looks good. Now, there's some extra lines that have been sculpted in, so they look more segmented than they do in the comics, but I really don't mind that too much. I like the musculature here. I think it's accurate for Kyle. Get some definition back here in the triceps, a little up here in the deltoids. But I like the overall shape of the arms. You get good movement here in the wrist, as you can see. Double jointed elbows, so you can get his arm to go back that far. So that's really impressive. He has the butterfly joints here, so you can get the shoulder to go up this far. And you can get the arms to rock back. So if you want to get him in this big power pose, you certainly can. So I appreciate all of the work there. Unfortunately, I have to say that I'm disappointed in the ring in terms of size and sculpt and paint application. I just really think McFarlane could have done better. There's just not a lot of detail here, and I have seen them do better, so I really would have preferred a little bit better work as far as the ring goes, since that's such an important part of a Green Lantern figure. So I am quite appreciative of the way this head sculpt looks. I like the paint on the lips here, the overall shape of the face. The mask has been sculpted well as the paint applications look really good on this. I like the white eyes. I'm really happy with the way the hair turned out. There's lots of detail there. You can even get these strands up front to move a little bit. Those are pliable. As you can see, the head moves very easily side to side. You can get him to tilt his head, and I certainly appreciate that. You can get him to look up, and you can get him to look down. So I really don't have any complaints about the head sculpt. So you can just wiggle the handle of the sword into his hand like this. He holds it very well. And the body armor, you just slip this over his head. And wow. I just can't deny, that looks superb. I certainly hope you have enjoyed this review. If so, please like, subscribe, and tell a friend to do the same. Stay tuned for some articulation shots, and also remember to catch me on the Multiverse Musings vidcast, available right here on YouTube. And I'll be back to the internet with more Green Lantern-related content soon. But until we meet again, this has been the Emerald Enthusiast, and thanks for watching.